that a little bit louder. Money out of? Poverty. Money in your? Poverty. Medicare for? Poverty. One more time. Money out of? Poverty. Money in your? Poverty. Medicare for? Poverty. All right, y'all. We know what we have to do. And today, I just want to reflect on a word that people have been talking about for some time. You heard the Congresswoman. You heard our incredible speakers. And by the way, can we have one more round of applause for our incredible speakers today? Folks who've been leading the fight all over this state and the upper Midwest for a very long time, leading that fight. And the word is electability. You heard that word? It's one of those many syllable words that nobody really has one definition for. Now, the simplest definition for the idea of electability is that you get elected. But they only ever use the word if you haven't been elected before. And it's a word that gets used to highlight things about you that you can't quite refute. Electability. My whole name is Abdul El-Sayed. My first name alone has 11 letters in it. You got sounds that come out of parts of people's throats they don't know they have. And for most of my life, I thought my name meant that I would be fundamentally unelectable. Because my whole life, I had mentors and people who met me say, someday you'll run for office. And I'd be like, did you see my name though? And it happened at my college graduation. I tell this speech sometimes on the stump. I was the valedictorian in my class at Michigan, got to give the student commencement speech. Real honor. And the only person anybody went to go listen to that day was a former president named Bill Clinton, including my own parents. And I give my speech. President Clinton gives his speech. He says some really nice things about me in his speech. My dad claps for me for the first time in my whole life. And then after the speech, he comes up to me. He looks at me, he does his Bill Clinton thing, son. Why are you going to medical school? I said, I'm brown and Muslim, that's what we do. But I love science, and I love people, and this is how I want to serve. He said, that's great, but you got a gift for speaking. Maybe someday you'll run for office. And I literally just laughed in his face. I said, Mr. President, really nice of you to say, did you see my name? People like me don't get to run for office. Thought about it for a second. And then he chuckled and walked away. I have thought that I was unelectable for most of my life. I didn't think politics was ever anything that I would do. I became a doctor because I really did want to heal. And at some point, you start to think a little bit about the problems that you want to solve. You're working as Detroit's health director in a health department that they've shut down, despite being the oldest health department in the entire state, 185 years old. You start looking at the decisions that get made and wonder, who's making these decisions? And then Donald Trump got elected, and I said, you know what? If that man can get elected, what the hell does unelectability mean anyway? So I ran for governor, didn't know what I was doing. I said, I'm going to go big or go home. I went big, then I went home. But we earned 340,000 votes. Finished second of 3 in a 3-way primary. And more importantly, I said something that I think folks weren't quite ready to hear. Donald Trump is not himself the disease. He's just the worst symptom of the disease of our politics. The disease is the system that allows billionaires and corporations and special interests like AIPAC to buy and sell politicians to rig the system against us. And if you don't believe me, what does $70 million spent in a primary for US Senate? What is that? Except for corporations and billionaires and special interests trying to buy politicians to rig the system against us. 8 years on, Trump has been elected a second time. I'm sitting in my office, they froze federal funds. I had to ask myself, where's the fight for public health as I'm sitting here trying to get WIC checks out the door one more week or keep our federally qualified health centers open. And our current US Senator announces that day that he's not seeking re-election. And as we've campaigned across 110 different cities now, 500 plus public events, I get this word electability all the time. Now here's the interesting thing. When people say, we don't know if he's electable, it seems like they're talking about me, about my name, about my faith. But that's actually not what they're talking about. See, there's nobody with more political experience being named Abdul, except for maybe the mayor of Dearborn, than me in all of Michigan. I'm pretty good at being a guy named Abdul in Michigan. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about all of us. All of you.
That's right.
All the people in the state. And what bothers me about that is not the comment that they're making about me, it's the comment that they're making about the 10 million open-minded, big-hearted people in this state. I was Abdul the year after 9/11 when my teammates voted me football captain. They didn't have to do that. They didn't look like me. I was probably the first Abdul that most of them had met. And yet, they saw past my name and said, we think he'd be a good leader for our team. Here in Michigan, we are a community that brings together the best of Midwest earnestness and grit. That's who Michigan is. And across the communities that I visited, places like Kalkaska, places like Escanaba, places like Manistee, right here in Dearborn, Detroit, Grand Rapids, I see that earnestness and grit in people. And I also see a politics that has betrayed them so much. And on this campaign, we've taken the time to go and listen to people, to understand their challenges, to recognize the pain they feel when they have to pay a bill they can't. When they go to the grocery store and their kid says, can we get that? And they say, I don't know if we have the money for that. When they drop their kids off at school and wonder why that school looks exactly like it did when they went there. When they drive over that same pothole over and over and over again. Michigan's earnestness and grit, they've been betrayed by the politicians who say they serve us. And so as I've traveled the state, taking the time to listen and learn and pay attention to the problems people have and share ideas about what we can do to address their problems, you know what people don't ask? How do you pray? But I have been asked, what do you pray for? People don't care as much about my name. They care if I care to remember their name. I say this in Dearborn, where a lot of folks happen to share an ethnicity with me. The experience of being an Arab and a Muslim in Michigan is the experience of consistently watching as your state uplifts and empowers and embraces you. That's been my experience. And so I get real pissed off when they say, oh, you're unelectable because your name is Abdul, because for me, I push back and say, you don't know Michigan like I know Michigan. You don't know Michiganders like I know Michiganders. You don't know what our state needs and deserves like I know what our state needs and deserves. You haven't listened to Michiganders and what they need. And if you think the best possible politics for a people as earnest and as gritty as Michiganders are is a politics that sells them off to the highest bidder, whether it's DTE or Blue Cross or Big Tech or Big Pharma, whether it's APAC, then you don't understand Michiganders. If you think what is electable in Michigan has more to do with a name than it has to do with a politics that delivers, you don't know Michigan. So Michigan, here's where we are. They're going to spend $70 million in this race. They're going to set 2 records. I keep waiting for the Guinness Book of World Record people to be like, you set a record! I want the plaque. APAC has never spent more to beat one single candidate. Honestly, I'm honored. The big corporations who are funding all of these other super PACs, collectively they've set another record. More money spent in a senatorial primary than ever before in history. And they're not spending it against me. Yeah, my face might be on the attack ads. I don't know why I keep touching it though in the attack ads. Y'all want to, I don't nearly touch my face that much. They're spending it against you. Against the movement of people coming together for the politics we need and deserve. They're spending it against your goodwill, your open heart, your big mind. They're spending it against your will to be able to have a politics that actually serves you. That money isn't about me. It's about what they think they can make you think about me. And they think that somehow 30-second commercials are going to change your fundamental experience of living right now. They think they can get you to stop paying attention to the fact that your health care is unattainable, that your groceries are unaffordable, and that we are wasting your tax dollars to fight wars or do genocides that have nothing to do with your best interest and are at the same time raising your gas prices to make that unaffordable too. They think they can trick you. But here's the thing, we always knew that this was coming, and we always knew that Michiganders were bigger than that. So here's where we are. We've got 3 days left. I don't know even how to count this. Like, you count today, you count election day, I don't even know. It's 3-4 days. I take counting way too seriously. We've got tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday to get out the vote. And we've got to make a point. I know you've probably seen the polls. Polls don't vote, people vote. Don't pay any attention to those polls.
Keep pushing.
We've got to make a point, though, about what politics ought to be moving forward. So my ask of you is that beyond the $70 million in lies that they spent, the $70 million attempting to drag us into the most cynical politics, beyond the $70 million in ad after ad after ad, they got money, we got the men. And I am asking you to put yourself into this movement every day for the next 3 days and the next 13 weeks after that. Because if you watched those ads and thought to yourself, how cynical do they think this is? Your answer has to be in the hope that you bring to those doors or those phone calls for the next 3 days. Our politics are so much bigger than being dragged in the mud in ads. Our politics are about the ability to look someone in the eye and have an honest conversation about who we are and who we want to be. We get the opportunity to do that for the next 3 days. And I'll just finish here. As a kid who understood just how blessed I was to grow up in America, because I would have summers in the place that, but for the accident of history, I should have been born in, where there is no democracy. Our democracy is only as good as the choices we make to use it. So beyond sending an argument to them about what kind of politics we will accept here in Michigan, I want to make an argument to each other about what we really can have. A movement that is honest about getting money out of our politics so that we can put money back in pockets by standing with unions, by taxing billionaires their wealth, by keeping our money here at home instead of sending it abroad and long, by standing up to corporate monopolies and oligopolies, by finally fulfilling the promise and guaranteeing health care to every single person in this country. By ending dumb wars we never should have been fighting on behalf of other governments. By ending the tyranny in our streets and abolishing ICE. By taking our democracy back, winning the future for our kids and grandkids who will ask us what we did in this moment. You get to have those conversations every day for the next 3 days. And then, God willing, for the next 13 weeks, and then, God willing, for the next 6 years, Because this is not about one U.S. Senate seat. Not about me, it's not even about you. This is about us and the collective we want to build and what that means for the future we deserve and we ought to hand off to our kids. Dear Warren, thank you so much for showing up for that.